Welcome to Intuitive Connection, where spirituality and psychology meet to help you be your best and brightest self. I'm your host, Victoria Shaw, and in each episode, I'll help you to awaken your own inner wisdom, step into your power, and live a more divinely inspired life. You're here to let your inner light shine. Are you ready? Let's do this. So hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. I am your host, Intuitive Counselor Victoria Shaw, and today I have been doing some reflecting on the past year. I am sitting down and recording this on the eve of 2023, so the last breath of the year 2023, which for me has been a really eventful year. It's been a really eventful year, and as some of you who follow the podcast know, it's a year where both of my parents left their physical bodies, where I'm almost through a divorce, where my new business is just about up and running. So, oh my gosh, it's been a whirlwind. And navigating at times really muddy waters of this human life, of the human stuff, right? Things that our mind, our experience, and our sweet little hearts sometimes find a little bit difficult. And my heart is no exception to that. There have been a lot of feels going on this year. And one of the things that I've recognized as I've gone through this, and those of you guys who are listening, because I've been really diligent about getting ahead on the podcast this year. So my guess is those of you, when this one goes live, it's probably going to be around March of 2024. So who knows who I'll be there. But anyway. So one of the ideas that I had, one of my colleagues and coaches suggested this one to me. They said, Victoria, I see you going to the top of a hill and spending like 10 minutes just, breathing in, drinking in, receiving all of the good in the universe. Sounds good, right? And you guys can try this because I was pretty excited about it. And so I did. I was a little tired, but I climbed to the top of one of my favorite hiking spots, looked over at the ocean, at the expanse, at the cliffs. Just, it's a beautiful, magical spot. Raised my arms in the air towards the sun and said, bring it on, and just allow all of the goodness of the universe to come into my physical being and let me receive that. And when I talk about it now, oh my God, it feels so juicy and wonderful and delicious. And when I stood there yesterday on that cliff, what I was feeling moments of joy and moments of bliss for sure, but I was also feeling a lot of frustration, right? Because I was like, this is not as magical as I want it to be. And I think, sometimes that is what our experience can be like. We think that when we have the spiritual awareness, or when we learn like that we can be joyous, we think that we should be joyous all the time. And we think that there's something wrong when we don't feel joy. And look, I love teaching about joyousness, and I love having people on the show that teach about feeling joyful. And I do believe, that joy and bliss is our natural state, and that is the state of your soul. And I also believe that the happier we are and the more that we can rest in that energy, the closer we are, to that enlightened state, which, by the way, gets to come and go. And I think part of getting there is allowing ourselves to be exactly as we are, when we are, and allowing the full force and expression of our own humanity when it is coming our way. So the purpose of sitting down today and the proposed topic of this episode is why we cannot force happiness. We cannot force happiness. We cannot force our own well-being. We can set up the conditions for it. We can recognize that it is our birthright, that we are deserving. And we also have to allow that even in the most enlightened state, we're not going to exist in a pure state of ease, joy, and bliss all the time. Because that, my friends, is simply not the nature of the human experience. We waver like a beautiful flickering candle, right? The light is always there, but it flickers. And at times it flickers so much, right, that we forget. We forget the light that we are. And so joy isn't something that you force. It isn't something that you covet. It's something that you allow, along with all the other aspects of this human experience. And the guides say, look, there was some value to that exercise, and I may even do it again. In that moment, right, I set the intention to receive. And even if I could not feel that wholehearted reception the way my mind wanted to in the moment, that doesn't mean that that joy wasn't streaming into my being. And of course, on the way back, I had some really beautiful moments. As I do all the time. And what I've learned to do, which is extremely helpful to me and might be helpful to you, is I've learned to really feel into the moments that feel good. I've learned to really feel into the moments that feel good, and not the way that you would take a butterfly or a firefly or whatever kind of fly, beautiful fly you want to collect and stick it in a jar so you can have it forever. Because we know what happens to those beautiful creatures, right? They don't thrive in a jar. It's more about savoring the moment when I encounter those beautiful things, loving them, allowing that beautiful butterfly to land on my finger. Enjoy our time together, and then also enjoy that sometimes it's going to fly away. It's going to fly away, and I know another one or something equally magical and wonderful will follow in its stead. It always does, my friends. It always does. But not because I'm trying to push or force my own well-being, because well-being is something that we learn to allow. We learn to calibrate to, we learn to focus on. And there are tools and strategies for doing so, but not so we can control how we feel so much, but more so that we can realign with a better feeling vibration for most of the time. And that's it. And another thing that comes up as I say this, which I'm sure was coming up for me on the top of that hill, and maybe this is one for you guys too, is that sometimes when we get these spiritual teachings, we start to think that there's something wrong with us when we're not feeling good, or we're not having, pro-social thoughts, or we're not manifesting what we think we're supposed to manifest, or any of those things that the new agey and spiritual world tells us are our birthright that we can have, right? And we think everybody else has it, but we haven't figured out how to do it yet. Well, my friends, to a great extent, you have, and you're doing so much better than you think you are. And some of you guys already think that you're slaying it, and that is beautiful too. Stay with that thought because it is true. Also, there's going to be moments when the humanness gets really loud, and those moments are okay too. You actually signed up for those moments, my friend, and they're beautiful, beautiful moments. And the trick is to allow them to be just as they are without getting too lost in them. That's it, without getting too lost in them. And for me, those moments when, I'm feeling a little frustrated, or I'm feeling like, I should know better than this, do better than this, or even just pouting like, I don't want to feel this way because it doesn't feel good. And I know I could feel better because a lot of the time I do. Those are the moments when I've learned to soothe myself, to love myself, to allow what is, and then to look for the better feeling moments, thoughts, experiences, because they always come. They always come. And often it's times when I let go of what I don't want, that I make space for what I do want to come right on in, right? So if we're focused on, I should be feeling good right now, letting in all of the goodness of the universe in my outstretched arms here on the second to last day of 2023, and I'm not, and I'm really annoyed about that. And all of these things are okay, my friends, because these are all part of the human experience. And we're present with them, and we're loving with them, and we don't get lost in them. And then, like clouds in the sky, they tend to disperse. They tend to disperse because you are the sun. In those moments of allowing, you are the sun, and your sun is so bright, before you notice it, you might have burned some of those clouds away. The trick is not because you were trying to turn up the heat on the sun, because that is a form of resistance, because you are allowing the clouds to be there. And in so doing, we're reminding yourself the sun is always there, and that you are beautiful and bright even on a cloudy day. You got it? So I'm about 10 minutes into this episode, and I kind of think we're good. So I'm going to see if the guides have anything else to share on this topic. But yours truly feels better right now. And what the guides say is they say, look, For those of you listening, this presents a very common conundrum to the human experience, where when we feel bad or really experience anything that is unwanted, we tend to want to put our energy and focus there. And they say this example that Victoria, that's me, is sharing with you. They say this example of Victoria going to the top of the hill with this beautiful intention and then not being able to align to it in the way that she preferred or chose, and the frustration that ensued as a result of that. This example is such a good example, they say, of how human beings often go about their lives and how they understand a lot of these teachings around the law of attraction and joy, and spiritual awakening and all that good stuff. And in those moments, they say what often goes wrong is we get lost in the idea of how we think things should be, how we think we should be, right? And in so doing, we lose the thread of lovingness, right? That is our true connection to source, to our soul, to our higher selves. I added the rest there, but they are just laughing away. So I'm going to say that's a go ahead. So I'm going to try to paraphrase what I think the guides just said. When we set an intention and then we cling on to it, and it doesn't always manifest the way that we think it's supposed to be, and we get frustrated, right, and think we're doing it wrong, it takes us out of alignment. And, the guides say that to some extent is as it's supposed to be, because what happens, they say, when you set an intention, it's like you say, okay, this is where I want to go. And this is the direction that I want to head in. But sometimes it's just not a direct path. And there's some things, on the path that need to clear, that need to shift, that need to move in order for you to fully align and realize that. And so your life is going to show you that. It's going to show you sometimes the feelings or the thoughts, that are on your mind that might be getting in the way. It's going to highlight the areas sometimes where you feel out of alignment. And they say, this is not a problem, my friends, although my little heart's pitter-pattering, because who wants to set an intention and then, find the contrast and find all that stuff. But they say it is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a remarkable thing, because in those moments, we have that opportunity to see and observe those clouds in the sky, and also to love and embrace and hold ourselves through that experience. And those two things, they say, and those two things alone are curative. They use the word curative. And I think what they mean is healing and restoring and aligning and all that good stuff. Those two things, they say, and I'm going to get it right from their mouths, are what help you realign and reinvest in and manifest your fullest and wildest potential. And so when you set an intention, you're setting your compass in a certain direction. And then, sometimes as you stumble along, you might find that there are some obstacles on that path. And those obstacles are beautiful. And they don't mean you're going the wrong way. They're just life showing you the path before you so that you can re-envision it in a way that will help you reach and achieve your goals. And they want to say something else, so I'm going to listen really, really, really deep. They want to say, look, when you set a goal, when you set an intention, something like bring in all of the goodness of the universe, that's a big ask. That's a big ask. And not because you don't deserve it, and not because it is not possible, and not because you're not aligning with it every day. And I invite all of you to align with it every day. But for sometimes, we have that little kicking and screaming part of us that is just, a little bit, that little recalcitrant child. I love that word, the little stubborn, reluctant child that just needs to have the tantrum right now. It just needs to get everything out. It just needs to say, I know we're going towards happy, right? I know we're going towards joy, but right now I just got to have this little fit. I just got to have that little fit. And when we allow that part of ourselves to be as it is, as we are, in its full expression, that too can lead to our own expansion. And I love those words, so I'm going to take a moment now to feel into them deeply. so that I can help share them too with you. Although some of you guys might already have gotten them with your sweet minds. My mind is still wrapping around that. What I believe they're saying is each moment that we embrace all parts of the human experience, we expand. We expand and the universe expands along with us. And that is a beautiful thing about what I believe Abraham Hicks, who I love to chat about a lot, would call contrast, right? And contrast is sort of the difference between your highest realized potential and what's going on now, right? So it's like, I have this dream, I have this realization, I have this ability to drink in all the joy of the universe, and I hear them saying something else, and I don't want to miss that one too. And here are some of the things that are still, blocking the way. And blocking the way is even wrong because they're not blocking the way. They're just showing me the way. They're guiding me the way. Just like if you're trying to find your way on a path with a blindfold on and you bump into something, it doesn't mean you're stuck. It doesn't mean you're stuck. It means it's helping you find the path, right? And as you put your hands on that beautiful piece of rock, I'm seeing like a beautiful piece of rock, and you feel your way around it, you will find your way through. And that is often what the perceived obstacles in life do for us, or those moments of disquiet. Right? They actually, if we let them do their job, they help us find the path even more deeply and clearly because they help us know what we are from reminding us of where we are not. Doesn't that make sense? Just really take a moment to drink that in. There we go. And the last little bit about this they want to say is this. When you set an intention, especially a heady one like, hey, bring in all the good of the universe and receive that and take it in. And I did take it in, my friends, and I'm probably going to go do that very same exercise today when I'm finished recording this episode. It's a rainy day today, so not so much visible sun, but I'm up for it. I am so very up for receiving. But sometimes what happens is in this growth process, in this expansion process, in this awakening process, whatever the heck you want to call it, I would say all of the above to some degree. We often get used to vibing at a certain level, to vibing and vibrating at a certain level. And what my coach and I think what my guides were inviting me to do in that moment, and I think this is relevant to some of you too, was to recalibrate. And it makes sense because I'd spent some time with people from my old life that were not as calibrated as I usually am. And also I was feeling stirred up about a lot of stuff, right? That has taken me a little off my game, and not in a bad way, in a beautiful way, because every experience in life is beautiful. And the more we recognize that, the more we recalibrate quite easily and naturally. And so as I stood on the top of that cliff, inviting in all of the good of the universe, part of what was going on is I was recalibrating. I was recalibrating my energy. And sometimes we recalibrate to an energy that we haven't even experienced yet in this physical body. And some of you are going through that right now. Right? And probably I'm going through that too, because, we're always expanding. So we're all going through that. And so as I was standing there, having that intention to bring in, all the good of the universe. And for you, it could be that. It could be bringing in more joy, bringing in, a romantic partnership, feeling easier, bringing in more, reliable health or abundance, right? Sometimes when we set that intention, we need some space to align with that energy. And as we align with that energy, and as we allow ourselves more and more to align with that, what we want, and to expand our vibration, to really align with that so that we can bring that in and experience that again in those moments. And in this moment, the guides say, all of you are aligning with the highest energy of whatever is coming into your mind. Personally, with respect to the information that I'm sharing today from my own experience. So we'll take a minute to all vibe with that energy, the good of the universe that's coming in for each and every one of us. Wahoo! Right? As we experience that expansion, sometimes what happens is we start to notice the little bits of ourselves that are not aligned with that. And as those start to, the guides say, float off or float by or burn off, right? We can sometimes have our attention go there rather than to the light And they say that's also part of what happened to me up there on that hill. It's the same thing that sometimes happens in meditation. And this was basically a meditation because I was staying there for 10 minutes with my arms in the air, focusing on that, And so just like when you're in meditation, for those of you who meditate and you're tuning into, a mantra or your breath or however you do it, there's so many different ways to meditate. And a pesky old thought comes up and gets in your way and you get annoyed with the thought for being there, right? That's sort of what I was experiencing up there on that hill, because oftentimes as we raise our vibration, right, as we set that intention to raise our vibration or move towards whatever it is that we want to manifest and experience more of in our lives, again, we naturally experience a little bit of that die-off of that which was, not discordant energies is what the guides say. It's discordant energies. And they would invite us to think about it as a die-off or a burn-off. And just let it be there. Let it be there. Love yourself, hold yourself through it, but recognize it as another sign that you are moving in the right direction, that you are moving at rocket speed towards that which you want to manifest, that which you want to experience, right? It is an amplifier of your joy and your enlightenment. Right? It's not an obstacle. It was never an obstacle. And the more that you can easily and completely recognize this, my friends, the more quickly and effortlessly and beautifully you align with your own highest and truest potential here in the now. And where you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling it, and so many of you are feeling it so powerfully now, you see that is just a sign. It is just a sign for you, my friends, that to some extent you are already there. You are already there. You are safe, you are whole, you are well, you are lovable, and you are aligned and allowing all of the good of the universe to flow through you now and forever. All right. I think that's all I'm going to get. I want to thank you all for tuning in whenever you're listening to this. I'm going to go out now and do some more receiving. And the guides are reminding me too that some of the receiving I did up there on that hill was for all of you. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to do that. And I'm going to take a minute to feel into all of your beautiful energy and to offer all the good of the universe back to you. Right? So that you too can put your beautiful arms up in the air and receive that wherever you stand and wherever you are. I love you all for tuning in. And have a wonderful rest of your day and namaste. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you found joy, strength, inspiration, and clarity from today's episode. If you'd like to learn more and connect with an amazing group of like-minded souls, please join us over on Facebook in the Intuitive Connection Community Facebook group, where we explore these topics in deeper detail, have additional live teachings, and host Facebook Lives with our amazing guests. I hope to see you there. And of course, if you want to learn more about me or the work that I do, please check out my webpage, victoriashawintuitive.com. Thank you so much again, and namaste.